If I can't close $1 million revenue a month consistently, month over month, then I'm not building the right product.
How do you think about moats, especially in the age of AI? How do you build defensibility into the product?
I have shown my entire product to my competitors. If they can copy and they can produce it, good for them. And then whatever I have done is not good enough.
What's been your biggest learning as a founder?
Biggest learning one, whether you like it or not, you need to be a little more cutthroat.
Hey everyone, this is Prashant and I'll be your host for the VC 10X podcast. And today we have Harish Chandramowli with us. Harish is the co-founder of Flaire, who has transitioned from being the lead engineer at MongoDB to building fashion ERP software despite not having a background in the industry. We dive into his journey from cybersecurity engineer to fashion tech founder, the bold decisions that shaped his company's growth, and his contrarian views on the future of enterprise software in the AI era. So, without wasting any time, let's dive straight in. This episode is sponsored by my own podcasting agency called Podcast 10X, where I help venture capitalists, asset managers, allocators, and family offices in starting their own podcast and building a strong brand. Podcast 10X is designed in a way to work well with the busy schedule of investors, where we handle every aspect of podcast production so you can focus on investing. If you're looking to build a strong investor brand, starting a podcast should be right up your priority list. It's the only form of marketing where you can showcase your strong network, in other words, access to limited partners and founders, and grow that network further. And contrary to what most people hear, it's still very early to start a podcast. There are at least 10x more newsletters and 1000x more blogs than there are podcasts in this world. You can learn more about our podcasting services at podcast10x.com. I'll make sure to add the link in the description below. Enjoy this episode. Hey, Harish. So good to have you on the VC10X podcast. How are you doing?
Good. And thanks for having me. I'm excited for the chat.
Yeah, likewise. To start things off, can we first talk about your transition from cybersecurity engineer at MongoDB to building an ERP for fashion brands? What sparked this pivot?
So I think usually, typically, I like building things. So even when I was at Hopkins, I took cybersecurity in masters. I did not want to go into consultancy because I didn't feel like that's something I would enjoy compared to building. So I joined Bloomberg and as a software engineer, and that's when I discovered this field of like, hey, you can be a engineer who builds security related products. I mean, now, yeah, Okta, everything came, everyone is aware of that field. 10 years back, I was surprised when the team came and called me for my new grad batch at Bloomberg. But that led to me joining MongoDB. Again, there I was building things, and especially as I was their first cloud security engineer, so I was kind of like trying to move between teams. So every quarter, it's like look at teams that has interesting project that needs security inputs, and I was just going and building things. Even there, I think around like 2 year mark, I ended up taking over core Atlas MongoDB cloud team. So as a lead, it was not really a security team. So it's like the knot is always like I love building things, solving problems. I don't really like care about the in the specific things around there. But yeah, while on call, I have seen how people use MongoDB and how much retail companies use the database, and it made me curious, right, why they are spending so much on a database. So I always had the curiosity, but then like around 2 years back, I was sitting in this shop called ONS in Soho, New York, and I sat in their team meetings. I spoke to their founder. The thing that stood out to me is like fashion in the back office of fashion, especially, it's fundamentally a data and workflow problem. It's like we always think fashion and associate always with designs, materials, and like compositions, but that's not just it. If you're running a business, then that is a operations is a huge part. When are you planning to order? When your items are receiving? And the fact that it's a data and workflow problem drew me to the field, and that's how Flash started.
Absolutely, that's quite an interesting story. Fashion, as we know it, is a relationship driven kind of business and skeptical of outsiders more often than not, right? So, how did you validate Flaire's idea without a fashion background?
So our initial outreaches were just cold emails. and people hate their ERP. They hate it enough that they are replying to random people at the time. So our initial cohort of customers, we pretty much like got through cold outreach. Uh, Again, I'm very thankful for our initial cohort of customers because at that point I haven't written a single line of code. It's just a vision. It's just like, hey, I get your pain. So let me think through how to solve your pain point. Um, so yes, it's industry is relationship driven. It's important to put your presence out there. But to get your first initial 10, 20 customers, you can go under the radar. If you can't find 10 customers who are replying to you, then probably that field is not like, it's not like a big enough pain point that people are looking for an innovative solution.
Absolutely, yeah, that makes sense. And you operated in stealth mode for about 1.5 years with design partners. So how did you know it was the right time to emerge publicly?
One, we all, like all our design partners are happy. They are live. They are using the product every day. And now we need to scale up. Then after we are VC backed startups. That basically means like there is an inflection point where either you scale or you die. There is no like middle ground with VC backed startups. And it's a time
Absolutely.
for marketing efforts.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, with VC backed startup, it's binary. Either you have to go all out or you have to die trying. There's no in between as such. Uh, okay, to the next one. What's been your biggest challenge in getting demos and converting them? What's your systematic approach, if you'd like to share, to solving the top of the funnel problem?
So some of the, I would say, mistakes I have done, if I look back, is not having a CRM from day one. It's like we have been doing cold outreaches for 2.5 years. But the last 6 months, I have a CRM. I kind of track people whom we disqualify as well. So one of the main thing with startup sales is not just getting people or getting customers, it's also disqualifying the customers. If you don't disqualify, you end up with the wrong customers and it messes up your whole product, your whole life cycle. Um, Cold calls is one of the most uncomfortable thing I have ever done, but it works because I hate when people cold call me. So in my mind, it's like there is this friction of like I absolutely hate when people cold call me and I shouldn't be doing it, but it works. Now we have started doing the cold calls. Otherwise, for top of the funnel, one something I did not lean on initially until like recently is my customers. I know my customers were happy. I think 6 months back, I literally went to them and be like, hey, I need more customers. I need to scale up or we are going to die in next 6 months. And I got so much referrals from them. And it is more powerful because when people say that I use this product and I'm recommending it, that's like one of the most powerful way to get customers.
Absolutely, I would completely agree to that. And with AI all around us, and I think AI is also core to your value prop as well. So, uh, replacing expensive implementation consultants, how do you build AI features that solve real workflow problems?
Yes. And actually, that's an important part, right? Even from sales perspective, you talked about being an outsider and AI has helped a lot in making sure I am prepped for my sales meeting. The first thing I do in my discovery calls is like not show the product, not talk about Flair. I literally want to learn about their business, how each one operates. Because a business, fashion business can have 4 employees or 20 employees or 100 employees. And based on the size, each one's responsibility is different. The software needs and what each one does is very different. So all I do in my sales call at the beginning is like, let them explain their business. Let them explain the actors or like the people in their company and each one's functionality. Then I go back, feed it into ChatGPT or Anthropic and stuff, have like a nice chart that pops up. The next call, I literally walk them through the business, right? Hey, let me walk you through in a very visual way of how your business right now is operating. And then let's dive into like what software can do to make you more efficient. And that process, like that exercise, builds the trust. Sometimes you would be like, oh my God, I never thought this is how my business runs because they never thought about visualizing a org chart and each one's responsibility. So it builds the trust and it goes both ways. Right now, I know their business, I know exactly how to solve their pain. And from the business owner's perspective, okay, they have the trust that, okay, yes, he is not from the industry, but he has put in effort to understand what is needed for me. Without
Absolutely,
AI,
yeah.
I don't know how easy that is to do.
Absolutely, I see that. And being a tech person yourself, and I've seen that in general, that when tech people, who are software engineers or leads or team leads, head of departments in technology, and then later transition into being a founder, and then later they have to do things like sales and get on calls, cold calls, and stuff. I think that's a bit of a learning curve for them. So, give me an experience on how that learning curve mapped out for you.
I would say it was very scary to even think about sales at the beginning. So even in tech, I have never been a consultant or like more user facing roles. I have always been like a core R&D, like literally filing patterns and like building something crazy. And my customers are developers. Throughout my life cycle, it has never been outside people. The challenges goes both ways. Yes, it was very uncomfortable, but the truth is, as a founder, if you are not ready to be in that uncomfortable position, that's not for you. So I know I have to face this, and I don't know there was any secret recipe other than like mentally being prepared to be in an uncomfortable situation.
Absolutely. And how do you guys think about go to market and approaching PMF, and what's that kind of milestone for you, and how do you see that in terms of metrics or engagement that you're seeing?
Product market fit and go to market strategies needs to go hand in hand. So one of the first thing, like I said, the reason I was calling out CRM is because I want to understand why I disqualify customers. If I'm disqualifying 10 customers for one missing features, then I know I need to build it. And if we can't get $1 million revenue with my current product, that means I've built the wrong features at the beginning. I need to rework on it. That's one part of product market fit. The other part is evolving technology, right? AI is changing day by day. It's not even like month to month basis at this point. How do you make sure your product is on top of the technology curve for the future? It doesn't have to be right now. There is no right answer. I don't know whether I have a process to do it, but being a technical founder, it's kind of makes it a little more easy because you have the knowledge of both the worlds to make the decision. Talk to customers every day. I know their pain point. All my friends, my whole network talks about AI, talks about the future everyone is building. And that means I know what are the next things that coming up. So now it's matter of like thinking through what the product should be.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've said tariff changes are creating permanent shifts in fashion workflows. How do you build a product that adapts to these macro changes?
So I think last month or so, my thought has radically changed. So one of the no one lessons that people always say with tech startups is that don't build for one customer. You need to build a product that 100 customers can use. But if you have seen ChatGPT 5 launch, one of the thing Sam Altman called out was like software on demand. Now, maybe that's a future. Every company should be able to build an ERP or a workflow automation software that's just specific to them. Before the ChatGPT era, that's not possible. But now that's absolutely possible. But then that's a radical thinking because I need to take a step back and be like, if I want to do this radical change, should I need to inform my VCs? I need to have everyone sign off. I need to figure out if it needs to be Flair or if it needs to be a totally new AI-driven startup or a pivot. That's a different part of the business. Is more like as a founder, it's not just about making decisions. It's about communicating to stakeholders. And it used to be very easy because most of the time it's a small changes, product market fit, and everything is like you're not radically changing your product. You're not radically changing what you pitched. But with AI now, I am like my thought process evolves so fast. Sometimes I want to radically pivot, and that's good for customers in a sense. Like I was talking to this medical scrubwear company. They have one bralette and one underwear in one color, but five different sizes. So literally, they just have 10 different items that they sell. But it's a part of post maternity thing. That means you sell these garments with the ice or cold pack. Because after childbirth, you need that ice or cold back to cool. Now you need to do inventory allocations because you sell it as a kit. You sell a couple of underwear plus like a ice or cold pack and stuff. Inventory management is a pain, and they are paying like $15,000 per year for a ERP call Sensor. And what they do is like try to rebalance inventories, allocate this highs and cold pack to different size things, and if something gets sold out, reallocate it. It's still a human doing all those math. But what they really need is just a bundling logic for their website. That's it. Do not try to allocate inventories. Keep those 15 items as separate inventory tracker. But for your website, just bundle and show it in a different way with discounts. Now you are not paying $15,000. A simple app development which used to cost 100,000 plus dollars, a software engineer, is now cheaper with ChatGPTs. So can you kind of like, does ERP really is needed in this situation? And how many customers out there could benefit from a simple custom point solution? So it's kind of like, yeah, I product market fit, technology changes, evolution, it's all like very interesting. We are in one of the craziest and the nice time to disrupt some of the workflow industries.
Absolutely. That's quite interesting. And I totally get the urge to, radically pivot, especially in the current environment where things are so rapidly changing. How do you deal with that urge to radically pivot? Because at times that might also seem like the right thing to do, right? So how do you make the decision that, okay, should we do it or should we just keep doing what we're already doing?
Again, some of the times being VC bad helps a lot because if you are not doing the growth, you are anyway going to die. So at that point, it's like do the bold decisions, figure out what you want to do. I think there is a lot of back and forth things that has happened when I first did the fundraise. So like have like VCs and everything. People usually say like that's a lot of pressure and stuff. The last 2 years, if I look back, I feel like that's a good thing. It forces me to make these bold decisions. So it
Yeah.
kind of comes down to revenue, right? If I can't close $1 million revenue a month consistently, month over month, then I'm not building the right product. At that point, what do I have to lose?
Absolutely. Makes sense. What metrics do you obsess over that are unique to fashion ERP versus traditional SaaS metrics?
Uh, Goalposts are changing because when I first started 2 years back, if I have 200K live ARR, you are killing it. Like you can do Series A, but now you need 2 million live ARR. So at the end of the day, it all comes down to live revenue and how much bookings you are. And to a certain extent, you need to, when you talk about growth, you cannot close a 100K deal and the next month go and like close a 30K deal. The consistency is really important. So putting together the infrastructure where you feel it's consistent as you start hiring AEs, making sure account executives have the right targets so that the growth is shown in terms of bookings. Both are very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And uh, as a technical founder in a relationship heavy industry, how do you approach fundraising, the tech story, and market or market opportunity first?
So fundraising, it's typically like industry doesn't matter because VCs, like you just need to convince VC. You really just need to put them in the shoes of your customer, make them feel the problems your customers are facing. And then like market size and all those things are just numbers you can throw. But in terms of sales, it has been a challenge. And going on this podcast or going to conferences, it's to put the credibility out there, right? Because there are so many startups who are doing your ERP. I get customers' perspective when you do a cold outreach, like, how can I trust you? Well, yes, you have a website, but what could you do? But when we talk openly about how we think about AI, how we think about pivoting, how we think about solutions, automatically that increases the trust. Because when you do cold outreach, people typically check your LinkedIn, they check your social presence, and the number of calls you get increases.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. And how do you think about moats, especially in the age of AI? How do you build defensibility into the product?
I am someone who believes that technology can be shared with people. That's how you keep innovating. I have shown my entire product to my competitors. If they can copy and they can produce it, good for them, and then whatever I have done is not good enough. That's not innovative enough. So my attitude towards this is like not have secrets and everything. If you want me to do a YouTube video of my entire product, I would do it.
That's interesting. But how do you do that? Because in the age of AI, you can give it a demo or a video that, okay, this is how a product looks. These are some screenshots.
So there are
Just copy
nuances
it.
to it because that
Yeah.
from technical perspective, I was at MongoDB. I was building some parts of like our serverless platform. One of the things with database is that the primitives that you act on are text, numbers, or true or false, and that's it. Whereas when you talk to fashion industries, it's like the primitives changes. They have color as a how we talk about numbers. Fashion industry talks about color, talks about barcode. So what I ended up doing is like I extended the MongoDB's core functionality to support more types that's very specific to industries. So we came up with something called schemaless ERP. And that means a customer, one of our swimwear customers, like tier three swim, they look at their product as cup size, regular size, color, and then torso length. Whereas our menswear company looks at their t-shirt as just color and size. And everyone's ERP looks very different because we developed a schemaless ERP. And my challenge is usually like, hey, the only reason we were able to do it is because of my MongoDB background. If someone can copy it, well, they can try to do it.
Got it. So your experience seems to be the moat here, right? Awesome. Uh, what's been your most vulnerable moment building this startup?
I would say there are a lot of challenges. The first is confidence. Uh, every time something goes wrong, which pretty much happens every hour in startup founders' life, I always question if I am good enough for this. But having said that, I am like executives at MongoDB, C suites at MongoDB still mentor me. C suites at other big companies mentor you, and they all bring you the confidence. The other part is also being an immigrant. It was a little bit of challenge because people ask you questions like, "Hey, you are from India. You are not from here. Can I really trust you with the software?" It's it's sad, but at the end of the day, you have to navigate those situations.
Absolutely. That's interesting. And looking back, what was the most pivotal decision that you made that changed Flaire's growth trajectory?
I didn't say it's a single decision, but one of the major thing that I took from MongoDB and we followed here in Flaire is that we did not build a product. We built Figma screens, we built clickable prototypes. We even today, when I go on sales call, I build mocks. And until someone signs and pens the deal, we don't like spend engineering effort. It's very important to validate the market before you start jumping into solution and building things. Especially coming from tech background, the intuition is like, okay, I can build this. It looks cool. Things that look cool does not matter. Does the industry needs is what matters the most.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was what I was going to say, that it's good to see that it's coming from someone from the tech background, because they usually have the other approach that, okay, build first and then try to sell. But is that a learned thing for you, that, okay, you've learned that, okay, you need to sell first, see if there's interest or not, and then build? Or did you see that, okay, this is the right way to do things?
I think it just comes from experience or like I saw Bloomberg being successful with that methodology. I saw MongoDB being successful with that methodology. So it's when you work in bigger companies or small mid-sized companies, one of the best thing you could do is not just do your work, observe everything around you, which is something I like doing. And this is what I observed in those two companies, and I just took it with me.
Absolutely. Are there any other things that you took from those two companies, learnings, inspirations, and applied to Flair?
There are things which there are not, I don't know whether it's the best thing. So one of the thing at MongoDB is like only leads plus goes on call. There are like literally the core management would be the one, including EVP of cloud, were going on call even when the company was $30 billion. So at Flair, I am hands-on only on-call person for the last 2 years. I don't know whether it's a good or bad thing because the leadership at MongoDB has kind of thought that like every IC is protected and leadership team do not have a life and they work a lot. And I did the same thing here. I'm like, Yeah.
Yeah,
I built most of the things. I won't hire until I feel like, okay, I physically do not have any more time. Physically, my team do not have any more time to build. And then I would hire a headcount.
absolutely. And would love an insight from you. Uh, the transition from being an employee at these companies versus now being a founder. How much has that changed your lifestyle in your mental health, your physical health, if at all?
Mental health, I'm pretty sure it's not me alone. Everyone goes through, especially if you are a first time founder, you go through ups and downs. You have no idea how to deal with it and you burn yourself down. It's like I worked for like 20 hours a day. I literally work 100-hour weeks for months together. That's not sustainable. At the end of the day, everyone says to you that, hey, it's a long game, you are going to burn out. But sometimes people just do and have to learn it from experience. Uh, Otherwise, I would say that the one of the most important thing which I underestimated is like mentors you take away from all the previous companies, like CISO of MongoDB. Till date, even yesterday, I was speaking to her, and she was talking me through some of the difficult management decisions I need to do. Having those C-suite executives from these kind of big companies as your mentor helps a lot. So sometimes when you are working in these mid-sized companies, I feel like one of the best thing you can do is network, make an impression big enough that all these people would follow you. It's like I don't even have to pay to get mentorship. All these people are doing it because they know you, they like you. It's a relationship you have built. And that's needed when you need that switch to be a founder, handle the pressure I had, the number of things I need to handle as a lead was overwhelming, but it's nowhere close to being a founder.
Absolutely, yeah. What's your contrarian view about where fashion tech is heading that most people in the industry probably don't get?
I think the most of the thing is not just the fashion tech, ERP as a whole is bound to change. So think of it this way. Why people use ERP is because you run reports. Technically, throughout this last 10 to 20 years, Oracle is the biggest player. And the thing that reason why database company is the biggest player is because every tech company, whether it's a fashion or any e-com company, has at least 6 to 7 software they use within their company to be more efficient. And ERP is set in the middle. They integrate with every other tooling that is inside the company, bring the data over to a single data source, allows the executives to run report, look at the sales report, look at the profit report, or look at what is incoming, how much cash is committed, whatever it is, right? At the end of the day, you get a big report from an ERP. But now think of the last 2 months, what Anthropic and ChatGPT has done with MCP layer. You can connect your Google Drive, you can connect your Gmail, query across it and get a report. And these people are not copying over every data from Gmail or every data from your Google Drive, right? That's because AI as technology evolves allows you to do it. And I think that's going to be the future of ERP because now think of it in an enterprise scale. Now you can use 10 different tools. You don't need to integrate and bring the data over, but you can just write the query and ERP could produce the report. So being from a data source, you are going to an orchestration layer where you just orchestrate with all the tools and get the reports out of it. So that's I feel like is going to be a big shift. One of the thing I notice with startups or people I speak with, when people think about AI, they just think of it as like an agent needs to run. This is my database. I need to be able to query. But AI is going to be way beyond that. Every time I see ChatGPT and Anthropic do something, there are nuances that happens under the hood that is going to have a very big impact on enterprise level as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very interesting. And you've positioned Flair to complement Shopify rather than compete with it, right? How does this strategic decision influence your product roadmap and partnership approach?
So again, it's kind of to certain extent forced. There are, if you ask about the mistakes I have done, one of the thing I noticed is that initially when we signed our first cohort of customers, I had people who are in Shopify and I had people who were not in Shopify. For people who were in Shopify, I had to build very less things because Shopify takes care of 80% of your workflows. And I was still charging them like $30,000 to $50,000 ACV. Whereas for people who were not in Shopify Plus, they are pretty small players at this point. It's a $5,000 ACV, but I have to build a ton of features. That means I don't have the money. I'm not going to increase the revenue at the rate I would do for a Shopify customers. That's kind that's kind of like the marketing part of it, like the revenue part of it, which we discussed. From the technology part of it, it also made sense because when you are not in Shopify, I need to be an inventory management system. Then you need to understand like, okay, a sales is coming in, do a plus add like the count or reduce the count. And it's not as simple as that, right? People do warehouse counts and then see something is damaged. So even manually, you kind of have to reduce your like inventories becomes a big thing. But with Shopify, Shopify has a good inventory management system. They have a good APIs for it. So when people add damages, when people get more items, I just use Shopify's APIs and bring it back to Shopify. That means they do the harder part of inventory management system behind the hood, and I'm not doing it. That means I don't need a 10 people engineering team. And I'm not talking about another 100K spent per month. So
Yeah,
there are two parts to it, right? Technology wise, it made more sense because I can build less, piggyback on a lot of things Shopify does well. And from marketing perspective, anyone who pays me more than 30K are in Shopify Plus. So it's kind of finding your right initial customer profile who would take you to seed, who would take you to Series A.
absolutely. Yeah, that's very sound thinking there. With that, we move to the last question before we try to close this out. What's been your biggest learning as a founder?
Uh, Biggest learning one, whether you like it or not, you need to be a little more cutthroat. You can't be too nice in every situation. And it's never my comfort zone to be like confrontational, but you have to be. And confidence. I am someone who never projects confidence because even as a lead, even as a CTO, I never had to do that. It's like people follow me. My profile earns the respect. So it was so easy in that life. But then as a founder, when you talk to VCs, you need to be confident because you have to make that first impression. So those kind of soft skills are something I kind of struggled initially, but had to like grow. Everyone who says this before I started the company was that like being a founder is not about growth in terms of technical skills or work skills. It's literally a personal growth because you sacrifice so much. On top of that, you are pushed to your limits every single day that you will grow personally. You will discover your strengths and weakness. And that's so true.
Absolutely. Would you like to give an example of what being cutthroat is?
Letting go of people as soon as possible is very important. Putting your foot down and when things are not working. Like at MongoDB, if someone is good and not the best, I can live with it. It doesn't matter. It's a big company, you have performance all over the place. But in startup, you are talking about 5 to 6 people. That means everyone needs to be absolutely at their peak. Otherwise, you can't move forward. And the
Um,
second part of
sure,
it
sure.
is firing customers. I
Hmm.
don't think I was good at firing customers. When you know your customer is taking so much time than needed and they are taking away the time needed to onboard another customer, onboard another 10 customers, you should be bold enough to go and say that, like, I'm drawing this line. If you need more inputs from me, it's okay. I will give you back the money. You can find a different solution.
Got it. Absolutely. Profound learnings there. With that, we come to the close to let our listeners know where they can learn more about Flair and where they can follow your journey.
So they can follow me in LinkedIn. I usually post everything in LinkedIn, even about Flair or my own thoughts. And honestly, I'm excited to see where Flair goes or pretty much even the product goes, right, with AA and everything. So next 3 months, if you follow me, it's going to be a pretty interesting twist.
Absolutely. I'll make sure to put those links in the show notes below. Thanks so much for doing this with us, Harish, and sharing your learnings from being a first time founder and entering an industry where you don't have a previous background in. So, thank you, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.